Jimmy Kimmel canceled, the shortest cancellation of all time, coming back. I struggle with this because I'm a very free speech absolutist type person. I would never want it to be that the FCC jumped in and was like, no, but I also understand from a business perspective, if the folks that syndicate your show know that you're offending half or more of the audience and they don't think you're funny, I also understand the business side of it.
Yeah.
But I'm very curious where you land on that.
Well, I think there's a terrible misnomer going out there that the FCC caused this to happen. And I think that's just a bunch of nonsense speculation. At the end of the day, Disney has a business to run, and their affiliates are essentially that's their bank account. And when the affiliates decide that whatever messaging is being delivered, whether it's sports or comedy or the news, doesn't match their viewers, they can make a choice to say, you guys can make it, we're not going to air it. And so I think the preemptive strike that Sinclair took, which is a Utah-based company who has a very strong belief system, just said, like, we don't like that kind of thing. I think there's been a lot of criticism around Disney. Did you react, and are you censoring things? And the answer, in my opinion, is your employer, when you work for them, has an obligation to deliver to their constituency. And their constituency isn't their viewers. It's their affiliates who pay their bills. Mm-hmm. And if the affiliates say that we don't want to do this, you have a decision to make. And it was a little unclear. Was it a suspension? Was it a cancellation? It was a little murky, but I don't think the FCC came in and said to Disney, to Bob Iger, you need to make them go away or we're going to pull your license. Do you believe that happened?
No, not at all.
Yeah. So we all probably need to stop with that. If you or I were working at Chick-fil-A or anywhere else, and we said things at the counter that offended the guests who write the checks, the owner, the manager would say to us, hey, you could have your beliefs, but not while you're serving nuggets.
Right.
And I think that's the respect piece that we have to understand is when we accept a check from an employer, they set the rules. And you could call it free speech, but it's not free. People are paying money to air it. And if they don't think it's funny or they don't like the content, they can say, thank you for coming. No different than you can cut the quarterback from the team if he's not making you money and filling the stands.
Right. Well, my perspective on it is that Jimmy Kimmel, along with Colbert and a lot of the late night hosts, they've lost their audience. Because I think their audience is people like me that are from middle America, that don't live in New York City or LA or Chicago, not going out every night to dinner or to clubs or to bars. They're staying home with their families and they're watching TV. That's the end of their day. And more than half this country voted for President Trump. So if you go on nightly and you not only mock the president, but now you're trying to use the assassination of a young father and husband as a punchline.
Terrible.
You're really turning off more than half of your audience.
I would disagree with that. You're turning off your entire audience.
Well, unfortunately, there's some that enjoy it.
There may be some people, okay? There may be some people that are idiots and they're celebrating what happened. But the bulk of people on both sides, and I know a lot of people that are on the left that think that it was horrible, that it was terrible that a wife would lose her husband, a father would lose their child, and somebody would get assassinated for free speech. And so this idea that only the right was offended by what Jimmy Kimmel said, I don't think is correct. Right. I think a lot of people just said, like, that was inappropriate and it was tasteless. And you got sent to timeout. It'd be interesting to see what he says tonight.
Well, the reports last week, before the announcement that he was going to come back on, the reports were that he was planning to go out the next night and triple down and continue to blame MAGA. And that's what was the straw that broke the camel's back. But at the end of the day, my husband asked me this last night. Well, Disney decided that they wanted to have him back and all this. And is it because they were going to lose money? I don't think it's because they were going to lose money without Jimmy. I think Disney is more beholden to woke than they are business.
I don't disagree with that. I think Disney's also beholden to their affiliates. I do believe that.
But do the affiliates want Jimmy back?
I think the bulk of them may. And they may have a different ideology. I don't know what his contract says. I don't know what the payout is. I don't know how much longer he's going to be on. I don't know if he compromised and said, the ratings are bad and it may be time to go. I need to apologize. I need to own up for it. My family, my wife, my kids are upset that I said that. I have no idea. And maybe there's a proper exit stage left that is done with, I don't know, a little more dignity for everybody. And maybe he just says, I'm sorry.
Well,
I was wrong.
That's an optimistic view. Which I think all of this, as somebody who's been a victim of cancel culture, not only targeted by the Biden White House, but just, I'm sure you have as well. For me, it's so funny because now the right is canceling people. Well, I don't think the right is canceling anybody. We're not ABC. We don't run ABC, so I don't know how the right made that decision.
Yeah.
But to me, as somebody who has been canceled and censored, and up until maybe a year ago on YouTube, we couldn't talk about men and women's sports, and we couldn't talk anything about COVID whatsoever because you would just be completely locked out of your account and you would cease to exist online. And Instagram wasn't much different. You'd be flagged, couldn't say this, couldn't say that. To an extent, it's still there. They've loosened it a little bit with the election of President Trump.
Yep.
But this whole the right is canceling people, I find interesting.
If he shows up tonight and does the opposite of what he should do, you'll lose advertisers. And that's more impactful than losing affiliates. And I think at the end of the day, American companies want unification. And we have a president that was elected by more than half the country, and it needs to be supported. And you can have a different ideological belief. I went back and looked at a debate between Ronald Reagan and Mondale a long time ago. Two very different ideologies. And Ronald Reagan used to poke fun, and Mondale would poke fun. But there was a reasonable discourse, much like Charlie had, a reasonable discourse around we could disagree about everything, but we could still be okay with each other. And God forbid anybody got shot. Your party line should go away, and you should just be horrified by the fact that that happens.